All right, well, good afternoon and welcome to everyone who is watching and following along with this edition of the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame's Hall Call interview series. I am Will Driscoll, the Executive Director of the Hall of Fame, and as always, I'm happy to bring you a new and exciting episode of Hall Call. Before we get started, though, I'd like to thank our Hall Call and Hall of Fame partners, Priority Automotive, the Beck Foundation, the City of Virginia Beach, Davcon Inc., Optima Health, White Claw Hard Seltzer, ESPN Radio 94.1, Hamilton's Realty, and Davis Business Appraisers. We are able to bring you programs like Hall Call because of them, so thank you all for your support. Well, as we sit here today, we are just 53 days away from the 2023 induction. If you haven't heard, it's the 50th in our history. So definitely an exciting time here at the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame. And today we continue the induction discussion with one of our incoming inductees, Francena McCorory. A native of Hampton, Virginia, McCorory has won at every level of her track and field career. Her accolades include 15 individual state championships for Bethel High School track and field in Hampton and being named the High School Athlete of the Decade by the Daily Press. She continued her success for her hometown Hampton University Pirates, winning 3 NCAA championships in the 400-meter dash and garnering 4 All-American honors. And I'm not done yet. And on the international level, she has won a total of 9 medals in major competitions, 7 gold, including back-to-back Olympic gold medals in the 4x400-meter relay in the 2012 and 2016 Summer Olympics. After all of that, it's pretty easy to see why she is a soon-to-be Virginia Sports Hall of Fame inductee. So with all of that, Francena, thank you for taking some time to join us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited, as you can tell.
Well, we're excited, and we're excited for you, the rest of the class of 2023. And like I said, it's just 53 days away. So obviously, this is for those who are following along. This is on our Facebook Live. So if you have any questions, please feel free to throw them up on the stream, and we'll try to get them over to Francena. But let's go back to the beginning here. How did you get your start in track and field? Because I feel like anybody I talk to who is in track and field and participates, it's always a secondary sport. So how did you get your start in track and field?
Which is interesting. So I honestly started running track in order to stay out of trouble. So I guess that's my secondary for me. But track is a long history in my family. My godmom, she ran track. My goddad ran track. So it was kind of the inevitable. But I got into it in about the 6th, 7th grade. And I was like, I'm liking this a little bit. And then I realized I was good at it. So I went on to do it in high school and college. So it was a struggle to get into it at first because it was new, but once I got my groove, it was a lot of fun.
Well, you, as I mentioned in the intro, you were the High School Athlete of the Decade, judged by the Daily Press, which was the main paper on the peninsula covering peninsula sports. And when you talk about some of the high schools on the peninsula in the Hampton and Williamsburg region, there are a lot of athletes that come out of that region, and there's quite a good representation in our Hall of Fame over the past 50 years as well. When you hear the term High School Athlete of the Decade voted by the Daily Press, what does that mean to you?
It's just phenomenal. It just shows me all of my hard work basically paid off, just staying disciplined, staying dedicated, through all the ups and downs, just keeping my head down and digging in, so it's an honor. My mom has the paper framed at her house, like we're never going to get rid of it. So, it just reminds me of all of my accomplishments. And like you said, to be a standout, amongst all the athletes, all the great athletes, on the peninsula, it's really a big deal. So.
It's a huge deal, and your mom should never get rid of that paper. That paper's got to be framed forever. That's quite an accomplishment. But as a top level track athlete, and like you said, this ended up being your primary sport, and that's for a lot of track and field stars. You eventually find out that you're pretty good at this, so we're going to stick with it. But you were recruited by some big name programs. I mean, there are a lot of big programs in track and field across the country. But what ultimately led you to stay home in your hometown of Hampton with the Pirates?
So I'm from a big family. For those that don't know, my mom has 8 children. So a part of it, I was scared to leave home. I'm a mama's girl. So I was scared to leave home. And then my other reason was, Hampton just supported me for so long. I just felt like I wanted to stay in the area where I felt the most love and support. So I felt like I would thrive in that environment the most. So I decided to go to Hampton University.
So when you got to Hampton and you got to have that moment in front of your family regularly, what was it, what you had expected? Was it what you had wanted? And how did that hometown support help you throughout your time at Hampton University through your 4 years?
Absolutely. It's definitely what I wanted, and I'm glad that I had that time at Hampton, because when I signed my professional contract, most of my track meets were in Europe and, all over the world. So I'm glad that my family got to see me run and support me, for the 4 years that I was at Hampton. But yes, it was awesome. If I had to make the decision again, I would go to Hampton again. Like you said, I was recruited by a lot of big name schools. So a lot of people were surprised when I decided to go to Hampton, but it was definitely the best decision for me. And, just having that hometown, that small, intimate support, it was all I thought of when I was at the 2012 Olympics and 2016 Olympics. I just felt proud to bring my gold medals home, because it felt like I was bringing it home to family.
Absolutely. And, we all know that you are a proud Hampton alumnus, but what were one or two schools that may have taken you away from Hampton? You mentioned you got recruited by a lot. Were there a couple that were pulling you and you were close?
Yes, University of Texas, for sure. I just felt like it was too far, but a lot of my colleagues went there, and I feel like that's just such a great school, such a powerhouse. And University of Miami, of course, because the weather is good. So those
you
are
can't
my
beat the
top.
weather. I mean, we're here in Virginia Beach, and so we love a beach. We know what the pull of the beach is like.
Yes.
That's good. That's very interesting insight. We love hearing things like that. But during your time at Hampton, and we're kind of going chronologically here, but during your time at Hampton, the program was perennially top of the MEAC. So you guys were definitely top, and you all were definitely top in the conference, which obviously led you into a lot of the NCAA championship level competitions. What would you attribute the overall success to of just the program as a whole?
I would say, again, like the family atmosphere on our team, no one was above the other. It was like we were all on equal playing field, just trying to reach the bigger goal. So I would definitely, attribute that success to it. I didn't feel like, it felt like home. Like I didn't feel a lot of pressure. It felt like I was just, going out, with my girls to win championships, like it. So I definitely feel like that's important, because that's one thing I'm worried about going to some of the major schools. It would just be a lot going on, and I wanted the same intimate atmosphere that I had at Bethel High School. So, and it was just that at Hampton.
Yeah, consistency though can be key sometimes, and the Hampton track and field program has had a consistent leader in Coach Maurice Pierce for many, many years. Can you give us a little bit insight into the influence and that he had on you, not only as an athlete, but the relationship that you guys still have to this day?
Yes. So Maurice Pierce, such a wonderful coach. I mean, he's really like my father. Like I consider him my dad. So, and like you said, just having a consistent, strong leader, it makes for a great team. We have no choice but to be great when there's such a long proven track record of greatness, so when you join a program like that, you kind of know what the expectations are and you kind of know what you have to do. So it makes everything kind of go on autopilot in a sense.
When you join a program like that, and you mentioned that Coach Pierce has these expectations, what did you have to do as an individual, and then even as a one part of an entire team, to make sure that you all lived up to those expectations?
Basically, you have to win. Like it's no excuses, no, you can't have a bad day. I mean, and obviously you can, we're human, but you just make sure you put the preparation in, you make sure, we're not just coming out here to play around, like we have a proven track record of winning, and we want to keep that up. No one never wants that to fall on them. So, you stick to your goals and you make sure you're out there on a mission, and sometimes, I can give an example of my senior year. you know, you have to be an influence to the others that's coming behind you as well, you know, like, okay, because it's a legacy thing, like you're teaching, like, okay, we have a track record of winning. So, you know, you have to be a model leader and, you know, lead by example. So.
Mhm. Yeah, you don't want to be the year that's in the media guide that doesn't have the championship next to the next to
Yes.
your name and your team name, right?
Yes, and that would, no, that's not a good look because it's there forever. So.
That's right. Well, regardless of the school size, and you know, we talked about some of the big schools that recruited you and that were of interest, but you ended up at Hampton. But regardless, kind of talk about the pride that you felt doing that for Hampton University, your hometown, Hampton University Pirates.
Oh my goodness, I can't even put it into words. You know, one of my most memorable moments was when I came back from 2012 in London and I got on I-64 and I saw my name on the billboard, like, congratulations, Francena McCorory. Like, I broke down crying immediately, you know, like, because it's nothing like having that hometown support, you know, like, I feel like the whole city was watching and it's just so encouraging. Like, you know, I felt like I was I wasn't only running for me in the United States and for my family, but I was running for my city too. So, you know, it's just, you can't even describe the feeling. It was awesome.
To this day, you still hold, if I have these numbers correct, you still hold 2 MEAC conference records, indoor and outdoor 400-meter dash, and 4 school records at Hampton: indoor and outdoor 400-meter, the indoor 500, and the outdoor 200. In the age of bigger, stronger, faster, do you ever think, wow, those records are still mine all these years later? Not too many years later, but still some years later.
Yes, and I hope nobody ever breaks them. But like you said, you know, that's just the nature of the sport. You know, you want, you know, other talent to come up and, you know, supersede you, I guess. But yes, it's definitely an honor. It's definitely an honor. And it's definitely humbling, you know, just knowing, like you said, you know, they have a lot of resources now, more than what I had when I was in college and from 2006 to 2010. So it just reminds me of what my talent level was, honestly. Like, wow, you know, like for a record to stand for all of those years, it's like, I must be pretty good.
Absolutely. I think so. I think pretty good. We'll put that in the bio. You must be pretty good, right? Again, kind of going in chronological order, you know, so you have great success at Bethel High School, you have amazing success at Hampton, and now it's time to take it to the national and international stage. At what point during your career did you realize that the ability was there to compete on that stage? And what was your first, I guess, foray or your first tryout for the national team?
So I actually, a lot of people don't know this, but I actually tried out for the 2008 Olympics. I want to say was that my sophomore year in college? But it just overwhelmed me, like, way too much. Like, I was like, oh my God, this is a lot. I don't know if I want to do this. Let me go back to college and then figure it out. But I think the moment that made me realize, like, okay, I can actually do this is when I broke the 400-meter NCAA record. It was 19 years old. And that race kind of solidified, like, okay, you know, I did this throughout middle school, high school, college. I'm good enough to go professional. So that was kind of like an epiphany race for me. Like, okay, you know, if I can run this time and break a 19-year-old record, I might be able to stump with the big dogs.
Who were the USA track and field athletes, either people you competed against or people that were just before you that kind of drove you to achieve those levels? Because we all know as athletes at any level, you look at your peers as people that kind of drive you to be better. So who was driving you to be better?
Hands down, Jessica Beard. She was at Texas A&M and we will go head to head. Every NCAA championships, I already knew, like, oh my God, I have to race her. So no, she definitely kept me on my toes for sure. And as far as the athletes that were already pro before I decided to go pro, of course, Allison Felix, Sonia Richards-Ross, they are wonderful role models. I mean, awesome, so yeah, just to name a couple, I have so many people that came before me that were just so inspirational, but those are the ones that stick out for right now.
Well, talking about two of those role models, you mentioned Richards-Ross and Allison Felix, Sonia Richards-Ross and Allison Felix, and they're two of the best to ever compete. Yet you're on that relay team with them.
I know, isn't it shocking?
Not at all. But talk about that experience being on the relay team with names like that and injecting yourself into that conversation, and then now being immortalized with that gold medal.
It was just awesome. My first Olympic medal, I think I was like 20 or 21 years old. So the way they took us under their wing, because obviously they have been there, I want to say that was about like their second, maybe even third for some of them, because I think they both went to the 2004 Olympics. So the way they took us under their wing and, it was like such a family atmosphere, like they could clearly see that we're young, we're nervous, but, they built us up and made us feel like, hey, you deserve to be here and we're going to win this medal. And for me, that's priceless, so it was awesome.
Taking a quote from you just a little while ago, you were scared to leave home. That's kind of what drew you to Hampton. So when you're standing on an international stage in front of the world for this, what's going through your mind as you're heading into that final race?
I'm still scared to leave home. I still can't believe, so on the line, it's just like, before that gun goes off, you're just like, this is it. This is it. This is what I worked up to for the last 4 years. This is what I put my blood, sweat, tears, sacrifices for. So the only thing that goes through my mind at that time is it's go time. Like, let's do it. We already put in all the hard work. We already put in all the sacrifices. We know we deserve to be here. We made the times to be here. So let's just go out and have some fun. And that's exactly what we did, for sure.
So you competed in 2012 and 2016 Olympics. What was the biggest difference or the biggest preparation, or is there something that you learned in between the two experiences that helped you better prepare for the second one?
The biggest difference was, if I'm honest, the organization of the actual Olympics. So Rio was it was, I'm going to leave it at that. But London was way more organized. When we got there, Rio was kind of crazy. Like, all of the stories were true. So I would say that's the biggest difference that stuck out. As far as me personally, the training and everything is pretty much the same. But it was definitely a shocker pulling up to Rio de Janeiro versus London. So not in a good way.
Go ahead. We'll talk about that offline.
Okay. Yes, no. Let's do that. I don't want to get in trouble.
That's right. You go from, Hampton is not a small town, but it's a small city, and the peninsula, and then we have the south side, and so it becomes a fairly big region. But when you're thinking about back to Hampton, and you're now in the same conversation as the Dwight Stevensons from Hampton University, the Allen Iversons from your high school, you talk about these are big time athletes that have made it out, that have made it from Hampton, the city of Hampton. What does that mean to you when you hear your name associated with athletes like that?
It's just incredible. Sometimes I have to pinch myself because I'm like, oh my God, like, is this really serious? But for me, I hope that it teaches other, athletes, other young girls and boys from our area that, if we can do it, they can do it too. I just hope that it can just be an inspiration. Because like you said, Hampton is not a big city, but it's not a small city either. But, I hope that, by everything that I've accomplished and, people before me as well, I just hope that, people from the area can see that, you don't have to be from this big town to do something great.
Absolutely. I was reading in one of your Hall of Fame bios, because like I mentioned in the intro, there's quite a few Halls of Fame that you've been inducted into. And your goal in one of them was to become a mortician once your track career is done. Is that still the case? Are we still on track for that?
Yes, I'm actually working on that right now.
Very nice.
Yes.
What drew you to that field?
Believe it or not, like I love people, but I always wanted to work a job where people don't talk back to me. It's just me. And, at work is quiet. Obviously, that's different from the job that I just left. So that was always my dream. Like, okay, after I retire, I want to work in a quiet workspace, and can't get any quieter than working in a funeral home.
I was going to say, yeah, quite a difference from, say, somebody getting into the childcare industry or into teaching. There's just noise everywhere.
Yes.
So got a few more questions for you, and then we'll go ahead and get you out of here. But you've talked about your experience at the Olympics. You've talked about your experience at the NCAAs. Is there another event? Because people sometimes forget that there are a lot of other events that happen in between the 4-year Olympic cycles. Is there another event or events that stick out, an accomplishment that really sticks out in your mind as, this did justify all the work that I put in?
Absolutely. So every 2 years, Olympics is every 4 years, and every 2 years we have world championships. And track and field, it's just like the Olympics. It's just not heavily publicized, but we race the same people. It's the same qualification process. So in 2014 and 15, I did really well at those championships. And in 2014, I ran my PR in the 400, which is 49:48. So like you said, that was a pivotal moment for me. Like, oh my God, I almost ran 48 seconds. So, and that's hard in the 400. I think the world record is 47.6. So no one's come close since 1988. And that's the year I was born. So, so that has to be one of my pivotal moments for sure out in Sacramento. It just makes everything worthwhile for sure.
Absolutely. And, you talked about the resources that are available to the athletes now. And obviously athletics just as a whole has gotten to a point where there's so much analytics, there's data, there's weight training, there's strength training. What's the biggest difference now that you see between how athletes are preparing to back when you were competing about a decade ago?
Oh, geez. I mean, it's like night and day. Like, for example, when I was in college, I used to eat like Chanello's pizza every night. Like
Chanello's, shout out to Chanello.
Yes. But now, these athletes, they're meal prepping, they're taking supplements, and I think it's wonderful. I think it's great. But I would say, like you said, it's a lot more technology, it's a lot, they have not cryo, but they have massage and things like that. Like those are things that like, we were just kind of like, oh, okay, we're going to wing it, so it is a huge, huge difference, but I'm happy, because they can only move the sport forward.
Mm-hmm. So what do you see for your future in the sport? Are you still around the sport? Are you still working with athletes? Is there anything that you're doing to help kind of push that sport forward?
I am. So I actually own my own time and business in track and field. So I time track meets. So we do FAT timing. So I'm there, just encouraging the athletes. You might see an athlete that's nervous before a race, and that reminds me of me so much because I was always nervous before every race. So I'm just there, and it's good to have a front seat, off the track to actually see, what goes into putting on a track meet and what goes on to, making sure the athletes, have a qualifying time and things like that. So it's fun. It's fun. It's different, but it's a lot of fun.
When you see an athlete on the starting line or getting near the starting line that is nervous, what do you say to them?
Just relax and have fun. They have plenty of time to be nervous, especially if they go to the Olympics. So they don't have to be nervous now. Sometimes if you're too nervous, it takes the fun out of it. You don't want to put too much pressure on yourself. So I definitely tell them, just block out the noise, block out just have fun, just have a great time. Because, when you start running track for a job, it can be fun, but it's more so work. So
what was the biggest difference then between running it in college, in high school, and then running it as a job?
It was a tad bit more pressure there because obviously if you're running under scholarship, you don't want to lose your scholarship versus running in high school. The atmosphere was a little bit more laid back, still serious because you can't lose the state championship. But just in college, you have a few more things to worry about. But all in all, if you're with the right team and with the right coach, it's still a lot of fun either way.
I think that you, in just this half-hour conversation, I think you've showed us that you had a lot of fun along the way, from state champion to national champion, world champion, Olympic champion. And we're just really excited to have you a part of our class of 2023, which, again, in case you didn't know, 53 days away. I know you know, but but we're looking forward to it, and we really thank you for taking some time today. It's been a pleasure catching up with you, learning more about your story and your connection to Hampton, and taking that connection all across the globe. So, Francena, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Will. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Well, I'd like to thank everyone who was following along and will follow along. Remember, this will be in video format, and then we'll also put it into a podcast format as well. Thank you to all of our sponsors, as you see over my shoulder. We love everything that you help us do. Once again, I'm Will Driscoll with the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame. The 2023 induction is just 53 days away. The next Hall call will be next Thursday, March 9th, with Joe Montgomery, this year's Distinguished Virginian Award recipient. And you can follow us on social media to learn about all the other Hall calls we have coming up in the next few months. And I always leave you with this, but whatever you do, participate, don't spectate, and we will see you next time.